Are you there?
I am.
Well, the funniest thing is when I close that particular window that echoes, this one comes up. So we're live. Oh my gosh. Everybody knows on Facebook at She's Reading that I have a love-hate relationship with Zoom. Ever since that update, it's crazy. It opens these windows and I don't even know what's open. But we're good now. I'm Kelly Coates Gilbert, and I am broadcasting live from Dallas, Texas tonight with my She's Reading members. And I am so tickled because I have a dear friend that I met at a writers conference last summer. And one thing I did forget was to ask you exactly how to pronounce your last name. So I'm going to let you say your last name so I don't foul it up.
Okay. So my first name is Jess and my last name is Mastorokas.
Oh, Mastorokas. Okay, that's how I was going to say it. So anyway, Jess is with us here tonight from Hawaii, and she writes sweet and swoony military romance. And the reason she does that is because she's married to one of the most handsome Marines ever. She has 4 kids. So. I know, because I looked at your Facebook page and I thought, oh. So you can tell him that this old lady over here in Dallas thinks he's pretty hot.
I will.
And I have a pretty hot husband too. So she is currently stationed with him in Hawaii, and she loves to plan with an erasable pen, which means I think we're going to be talking about being a pantser. And some of you know what that means, but we'll be talking about that tonight. She has multiple series. One that we're going to be talking about tonight is Brides of Beaufort, which I absolutely love. I actually read one of them. It is so good. I can't wait to talk about it. But before we move on to that, let me tell you a little bit about some of her reviews, because you all know that I love to go through the reviews. That just tells me a lot. So I saw a lot of repeated phrases. This is what I saw. One reviewer said that her books are sweet with just enough heat to make you tingle. And as all of you know, that normally I have been interviewing and chatting with women's fiction authors. And recently I've been bringing in some of my favorite romance authors because frankly, this last couple of months, I have been reading romance. I don't know why, but many of us cross genres, and Jess and Claire have been some of my favorites. So I brought both of them on. Another reviewer said, great chemistry. Another one said, oh, what a moving story of love and heartbreak. Another one said, love that any age can enjoy this realistic romance. So you write sweet and clean. So that means that, you can give this to your granddaughter or your grandmother, either. Yeah. Another reviewer said, and this was all in caps, magnificently written. I know. And another one said, there is a very good chance you'll find yourself laughing.
I like that.
Yeah. And then my very favorite, and I starred this one, I am never disappointed with this author's books.
Wow, I love that. Thank you to everyone who said those, wherever you are.
Wonderful. We really write for our readers, and when we are able to please our readers with our work, it just is thrilling. So The girls that are with us here tonight, you know the drill. We're not seeing your comments, except for tonight. We're trying a little bit of an experiment. Jess has her Facebook open on her phone, and so she's going to be kind of watching. We've got that turned to mute, but she's going to be watching the comments. And so as time allows, we're going to, and if she sees something that's interesting, we do this really informal. She's just going to answer some of those questions. And so let's just start the chat by letting Jess tell us about her writing journey and about the books and series that she has available. Take it, Jess.
Sorry. I was like, wait, do what? So let's see, writing journey. Long story short, when my husband joined the Marines, I was, we both went to college, and it was kind of a surprise that he was going to do that. And my dad was a Marine, my brother was a Marine, and I was like, well, now I just want to kind of consume a bunch of military romance. So let me just go do that, because that's just my personality. And then I wound up not really being able to find any that were necessarily as realistic as I was hoping for, if you will, because it's just one of those things, like, I would never be able to write, or I shouldn't say never, but at this point in my life, I would never be able to write a bunch of books on a ranch with cowboys, because I don't know enough. And I think the people who do know enough would be like, so a lot of the military fiction that I happened to come across, and this was back in like 2012, 2013, I wanted something written by someone who knew maybe more of the details. So I was like, or I could try to write some myself, maybe just for the fun of it, and so yeah, that's where it started. I wrote my first book back in 2013 and another one in 2014. And then I didn't know what to do other than just hit self-publish on Amazon. And so I kind of just stopped and did some military wives shout out to all of us who've done the direct sales, like skincare companies and things like that. But it's kind of a school of hard knocks when it comes to marketing. When you do those companies, it's owning your own business, it's how to market. And so at one point I just was like, hey, what if I use some of these marketing skills that I've learned on my books, and just transitioned over in 2019 to do that, and pretty much went full time within that year, and have put out about 30 books since.
My gosh. So did you always know you wanted to be a writer, or is that something that kind of came to you in your adult years?
No, yeah, I've always been writing. I wrote plays a lot in high school, and in high school actually that route as opposed to novel writing. But it was when I wanted to read some realistic military romance that I sat down and wrote a full-length novel for the first time. So always been short writer or play writer, but yeah.
Yeah. I told Claire this when she was on a few weeks ago, but I'm a huge fan of that series called The Army Wives. I was just thrilled with that, in that it took the women and it told their stories from their perspective in that world. And I had no idea. Now, it may not have been that accurate, but I had just never even been. Yeah. So
I think the difference with that for me, because I did binge, the whole series at that time when my husband was first joining, and Claire, Claire's one of my best friends, and like obviously she knows more about the Army side than I do, being a Marine wife. So some of the things that she would probably find as inaccurate, I would just assume were different for the Army than they are for the Marines, and move on. And that show for me, I love that, because the female relationships, the female friendships, it illustrated the sense of found family that happens within the military world. And that's actually a huge theme in all of my books, because I'm sorry, but when we're in Hawaii right now, our families are on the mainland, like we are isolated. So having that we're all in this together mentality within the military is huge. And all of my series are in the same world, and you see characters like cross over from other series because we're always moving around. Yeah.
I love it when I get to open a book and read, and then I see a character from over here that I've loved.
Well, and it happens, like I do it that way because that's how our lives are. Like as we speak at this moment, downstairs with my kids is my best friend, who I met when my husband was stationed with his very first squadron in San Diego. So if this were my book world, she would be in the San Diego series. And and here she is showing up in the Hawaii series, right? That's like as a friend coming out to visit me. So yeah.
And that's why, I love doing these author chats. I'm an author and I love to talk to authors about their process and how they came to writing and such, but I'm a reader and I love listening to how authors create their worlds and why. One of the things I find the most interesting is you can't find an author across the board who writes the same and for the same motivation. And a piece of us shows up on the page. And I think that's true of you. I could instantly read Claire's book and go, that's Claire's book. And I read, because I know you, and I read your book and went, that's Jess. And tell us some of the other themes and things that are important to you that make their way into your novels.
I think in general, my books they're like love letters to my fellow military spouses. And because it's like, I write for us because we have to think about things that just don't come up with civilian relationships. Like, you meet a guy and you think he's really cute and your whole family is there in the small town where you live, right? And then you find out he's an active duty Marine and he's only there on leave visiting one of his friends. And suddenly you're like, oh, okay. Or, just any of the little things that come up, and it works out really well a lot of the times when you're looking at reasons to keep a couple apart in a romance, because, we have to do that, right? But at the same time, it's real in our lives. Like, so many people have messaged me and been like, oh, this book was just like our story because he was about to leave on deployment. And so the whole first 9 months that we were together was virtual. And then when he came back, we got married, and it's just cute. It's different.
Yeah.
And I want them to see stories like theirs on the page.
I love that. I love story to my fellow military wives. That's wonderful. But I also, I talked to you just a little bit before we went live on air and learned that there was something else that was important to your family that you're making sure that comes into your books, and that is kind of a personal author theme of yours. Do you want to tell our readers about that?
Like with the neurodivergent stuff? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have written some neurodivergent characters, and sometimes I make the label or the diagnosis known. Like, for example, I have a character with a little brother who's autistic, and it has to do with what's going on. And then other times, like in the Fake Date and the Brides of Beaufort, she's very clearly neurodivergent, but no, she's never been diagnosed. And the reason it doesn't come up in the book as a diagnosis, and no one suggests that she go and get diagnosed, is because many of us, myself included, live with these struggles that we don't understand that there's a reason for it our whole lives and never get diagnosed, because women they just act differently, I suppose, than men. So I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD when I was 30 something. And I was suddenly like, oh yeah, now I get it. And it was it was probably one of the best days of my life, because I could be like, now I know what to do. Like, and now I know it's okay. And now I know I'm not just weird. Like, I had a character like that. She's probably one of the most like me characters that I have, because she's just living her life and looking for someone who's going to love her for who she is, but no one's diagnosed her with anything.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what, to me, that's the power of fiction. When you can take and open a reader's eyes to understanding something that they wouldn't normally maybe be exposed to and understand. And books can do that differently than television, because even as you're talking, I mean, what my all-time favorite television series was Parenthood. I mean, I adored that show. Yeah. Of course, and that was really the first time I had been introduced to an autistic child and the struggles of parents. And I just love that storyline for that reason. I felt like I was educated at a deeper level, a heart emotional level. And so as authors, if we can do that in our fiction, that's powerful. And I appreciate you telling the ladies that are reading about that, because I think that that's another reason to pick up your books. It will expose you to a whole new situation in a very powerful, deep way. So,
well, and it's funny because sometimes it's not always, in the same way of like me not knowing that I was autistic. Like, I wrote a little boy and I based him off my son years ago. And it was funny because all of his cute little idiosyncrasies were in this little boy, and people were talking to me about how much they loved him and how, like, it was just really cute. And then after my son was diagnosed with autism, I was like, oh, like, okay, hold on. It was just cute because I went back and I read through the things that I put about that little boy, and I was like, hey, look at that. So it's a fun journey for the author if it's an interesting journey for the reader as well. So
so all of you out there, and I know many of my members here on She's Reading, we talk often, and I know some of them kind of semi-personally, And I know that would be something that you would be really interested in. I think, I love to recommend, I don't bring an author on here that I don't recommend their books, but Jess's book for you to go try them. And tonight is a very special reason to try them because of her Brides of Beaufort series.
Yeah.
That's a nice little segue. I'm going to let you tell them about surprise.
Surprise. So for my birthday tomorrow, I decided to give away all 6 Brides of Beaufort books for free. So they are free today through the 13th, and you can just go on Amazon and download all 6 of them for free. And happy birthday.
So that rarely happens, but I am telling you, I mean, I was so tickled to be able to tell you about Jess and the wonderful deep things that she writes in her wonderful romances. But the surprise that you can now go, and I want you not to go now because I want you to stay for the interview, but immediately when we get done, Jess is going to put a comment, and she's going to put her website, and she's going to put a link to that series because you won't want to wait. You'll want to do it tonight. I did it when I found out. I did it just before this interview started. I went on Amazon and I downloaded every single one of them, and I was just so tickled. Now, are they only on Amazon? Because that's where I went, but I also read on Barnes and Noble and Nook and Apple. So are they?
Yeah,
or are they just
they're on Amazon because they're in Kindle Unlimited normally. So yeah. But
so
in general, you can download them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those of you who are, because I know a lot of you are Barnes and Noble readers, you can just download that app, the Kindle app, to your phone and still read them. Even if you normally don't read on Kindle, at least go get Jess's and read them. And because truly, you will not want to miss out. I loved, and the covers, I have cover envy. Look at these brides and look at that. So you'll want to go get them. And by the way, sister, I went on and looked, and your rankings are really high tonight.
Yeah, I was super excited. I thought last time I looked, one of them was like number 200 in the free store. So I was really excited.
And, I mean, that really does wonderful things, because when you guys don't know the power you have. When you all are going in and buying books, it raises those rankings, and then Amazon goes, oh, readers are liking this, and so they start showing it to more people, and so that's the power that y'all have, and that's happening tonight for Jess. I mean, I looked on there and I thought, oh my God, she's number 8 in this category, number 3 in this category, she's number 400 in this category. So anyway, I was tickled about that. So
thank you.
So even if you don't plan to read them right away, tonight is the night to go get them. So go download them. So let's talk a little bit. One of the things that I saw was constant comments about your characters, authentic characters and likable characters and, realistic characters. And so let's talk about your characters a little bit. First of all, which character in your books, in all of your 30 plus books, which character is the most like you?
Definitely that one neurodivergent girl. She, I won't lie, the little things in there, the preferences and the little things that drive her nuts, those are all mine for the most part. So there's that. But I tend to think that I don't really know how. Sometimes I have to stop myself from having my characters act like I would. I have to remember, like, no, this is someone else. So maybe if the characters like that they seem realistic and like good characters, it's because I then during the editing process have to go through and be like, who is this girl and how would she act? And then I really so I do tend to focus on that. But yeah, so they all have a little bit, but I like the opposites attract books that I have because I tend to do that a lot because my husband and I are an opposites attract kind of story, and so those are fun for me because it's just like, and then I would say this, and then he would say this, and I would roll my eyes like.
That's me and my husband. We've been married almost 40 years, well, over 40 years now. And we got, when we got married, we were so different. I mean, he drove a green Chevy van and long hair, and I worked, as a governor's intern in the Capitol building. I mean, can you find it?
Yeah.
more different. So those are always fun stories to see how the romance develops between opposites.
Mhm.
Tell me what your process is for creating your characters. Like I always have to go get an image of a character, and when I look at it long enough, their story starts for me. How do you create your characters?
So I'm not very visual. And that's another thing during the editing process that I have to go back through and fix, because I have a really hard time describing physical attributes. I I don't know. I mean, I know a lot about like the whole visual versus auditory versus blah blah blah, and I think that I have a little bit of a deficit when it comes to visual stuff, and
It
I'm more
actually may
auditory.
have worked in your advantage, because when I was reading your reviews, there was lots of people that were talking about how authentic and heartfelt they were, and so you were really building a character from the inside out instead
Yeah,
of
I think
the other
that's what
way.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like and auditory is big for me, so I'm big on dialogue. And so I think when I'm creating characters, I'm thinking about, I think it starts with the trope, honestly,
Uh-huh.
because I like to think, okay, going in, if I know that this is a protector kind of hero, I'm like, okay, but what kind of protector hero? Is he a grumpy? Is he like going to be showboaty about it? You know, how bossy is he going to be? And just kind of start thinking about those things to flesh it out.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Than actually a picture. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's interesting. And so, um, tell us about in your writing process. This is one of my favorite questions. Tell us about an interesting writing quirk that you have. One of mine is I eat red Twizzler licorice whenever there is any kind of, the tension is building and it kind of starts to, I start to internalize it. I have red Twizzler licorice and I start eating. What's your quirk?
Um, well, maybe I have a candle that I light when I write. Is that weird? I don't know if that's weird enough. Maybe just the fact that, because of the ADHD and all that. Oh, cute. I tend to binge write. So I will think about a story in the back of my head for a long time, and then right before it's like going to be a problem if I don't start writing, I'll just binge it in a very short amount of time, and I can sit for a very long time or stand. I have a desk that does both, so I can focus on the manuscript for 6-7 hours straight.
How long does it take you to write a book?
I think the shortest I've done is 4 days with this binging thing. But, I mean, the ADHD, like that means that I am locked in the zone. I forget to eat throughout the whole
I
thing.
have a lot of author friends just like you, and I'm kind of envious because they get to live life and they do, stuff and write. They go away and they just write the book. I have a friend who goes away and does just what you do, but she doesn't even sleep. She goes to a hotel and she writes round the clock. And then she comes out, she takes snacks and drinks and stuff in with her. She doesn't go to eat. She just writes. She does, like, she'll fall asleep for an hour and then write. And
I suppose that would be my writing quirk, is that. But
that's not that uncommon.
We're talking about a first draft here.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, if I could just get it all out of my brain, then one of my favorite parts of the writing process is looking at the big picture and going through and fixing all the inconsistencies, fleshing it out,
See, and I'm just the opposite. I write every day, this time to this time, and I go back and fix and as I go. So when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah. I've tried that, and like pre-diagnosis, I beat myself up because I'm not consistent like that. And now I just go, well, yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Like, well, what you do, girlfriend, works because your romances, and I can't say that about everybody's romance. I'm a very picky romance reader, and there are only two authors that I really can say, oh, wow, yeah, I want to read that. And you're one of them. I mean, I picked up and met you and Claire, and I picked up your books, and I was so interested in the military aspect, and I really fell in love with your books, especially that Buford series. Oh my gosh, I just love.
Thank you.
Another plug, go get it. So which do you prefer to write, first chapter or last chapter?
Last.
Last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the ties up everything with a bow thing. I'm a big fan of bringing back jokes that happened earlier in the book, or have you the mirroring thing where
Yeah.
you end how you started? Love that.
That's what I do.
Yeah. When I can figure out a way how to end a book exactly like in the same place where it started, or with a little nod to how the first chapter was, I'm like, oh, this is so cute. Like,
yeah, that is good. So what do you do for fun when you're not writing?
I read.
You read.
Ugh.
You know what?
Such a writer answer.
And I don't want to fluff any of my author friends' feathers out there, because I know a lot of you don't, but I happen to think that some of my best some of the best books that I read are usually by authors who read a lot, and I read a lot. I really, and I mean, I always have. I that's my thing of choice.
Yeah,
I read.
I just can't. I can't output unless I input. Right. Yeah. So like if I go through a reading slump and then hi Elena, I just happen to see her comment roll up. When I haven't read anything, like if I've been too busy and I haven't been reading, I also can't write. And then the second I sit down and binge read an entire book in one night and don't sleep, we're all shocked. Then the next day I can write. But I usually tend to read, like, some of the favorite things that I'm reading are not the things that I'm writing. Like the genres that I write. Like I'm obsessed with like the A Court of Thorns and Roses franchise. Mm-hmm. I don't write anything like that, but I have a cup with stickers from it all over it, and I have a throw pillow with it. Like, it's fine. Doesn't help me with military romance, but it does help me with like the feels that I'm trying to put in it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, if I go dry, that's what I do. I go and stop and go and read something and stay away from the computer for a while, a day or two, and just fill back up, like you said. So you mentioned that, Elena, you saw her comment. So I can't see the comments, and this is something new, and maybe we'll start to incorporate this. But Jess, let's take a look at some of those comments. Are there any that you can answer, or?
Allow me. First of all, thank you for the happy birthdays.
Yeah.
And there's one. Do you use your family names in your books? Actually, yes. And one in particular that I'll mention is in my rom-com military series, I have a princess from a made-up country in Europe, and her name is Zara, and that's my daughter's name. And I intentionally did that because we joke that she's basically a Disney princess, like trapped in a human's body. They're human, you know what I mean? Not a cartoon. Anyway, so Zara got to be an actual princess, and I have the most adorable picture of her on my Instagram back from when that came out, of her wearing a princess dress and holding her book, she calls it. And so that was a lot of fun. But I have used in my book that's basically a cross between My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and because we're Greek, and that movie Purple Hearts on Netflix. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. So it's basically a cross between those, because there's a marriage of convenience and it's a big, loud Greek family. The main character's name in that is Zoe, and that's my other daughter. But you know what? I have not used my son's names in my books, because it's one thing to like write an empowered female heroine and name her after your daughters, but I'm not going to like think about a swoony Marine named after my sons. I don't want to. I don't know why. Is that
I get that.
that bad? Callie just commented, and Nick. Yeah, my husband's name is Nick, and I've had Nick characters, but the thing about the Nick in the Snow Hill series is that he's named Nick because she's named Holly, and they have cheesy Christmas names on purpose because they sweet. Like make fun of it in the book. So I mean, I don't know how much like that really has to do with Nick. But yeah, other comments would just be someone asked when I decided to become an author, and we kind of talked about that at the beginning, but if you weren't here, basically it was just a few years ago. Like, I've always loved writing, but a few years ago I decided to actually make a full-time career out of it. So.
Sweet. Well, I know that most of the members many come when it's live and they comment, but many people come and view it even after tonight. And so there will be comments. And for all of you, just like we always do, for anyone who comments in any way, shape, or form below this video, you are entered to win a prize tonight. So why don't you go ahead and tell them, Jess, what you're giving away tonight?
So this is, first of all, really cute size that fits in your purse. FYI, I love little books. I can't help it. This one is the latest in my, they're all Christmas books. The series is called Christmas in Snow Hill, which is a fictional town in Pennsylvania. And this one came out just this past Christmas, and it's about a Marine veteran who is now a cop. And it's a single mom, small town cuteness, but there's also a bit of like a cold case, like murder investigation that happens with the romance. So it kind of just adds a little some fun, suspensey, fun stuff in there with
you mystery lovers.
Yeah. So if you comment, we'll pick a winner, and I will order you one from Amazon and have it sent, so that I'm not sending it from Hawaii and it takes forever.
And you have to be for paperback, you have to be in the US. Which shouldn't be a problem, because I don't think we have any international members, but
okay. If we do, I'll email an ebook of it if they win.
Okay, there we go. So if you're international, if you're an Australian member or New Zealand or UK, and you've commented and you happen to be the random winner, then you can get an ebook copy of it. Okay.
Yay.
That's great. Okay, so we're going to do what I call my rapid fire questions, and it's just I ask questions, this or this, and then you answer. Okay.
Oh, brother.
All right. Rocket fire, chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla, little chocolate. I'm bad at these. Chocolate.
Okay, chocolate. Pie or cake?
Pie.
Beer or wine?
Beer. Can I tell you, favorites make me anxious, but it's fine. I'll keep going.
Stilettos or flip-flops?
Flip-flops.
Dawn or sunset?
Sunset. I'm not up at dawn, ever.
Swimming or walking?
Walking.
Beach or mountains?
No. I can't pick. Depends on my mood.
I know, me either. You know, I love them both. Cook or takeout?
Takeout. Well, who's cooking? Sorry. Rapid fire. It's fine. Takeout.
All the men in my family cook, so that's a hard one for me too. And I takeout if it's McDonald's or something like that. Campground or resort?
Resort.
Yeah. Okay. The last one: flowers or massage?
Massage. No. Yes. Flowers die. It makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and when I finish a book, I always go for a massage. I mean, that's
I love that.
Yep. I mean, that's just the little thing I do. And the impetus to get that book finished as quick as possible, because usually by the time I'm at the end of the book, I'm ready for a massage. So anyway, well, I'm really tickled that you were with us here tonight, Jess. And I don't know if we're going to get to see each other at InkersCon or not, but are you by chance going to NINC this year, which is another?
I hope to. Yeah, I really hope to. I would love to go to NINC. I'm going on a writing cruise in April that I'm really excited about. Yeah, that'll be really fun. And then I'm still figuring out conferences for the rest of the year after that, depending on where we're living at the time. So
we did get to see each other at Inkers, and we got to see each other at RAM last November. So that was fun. In fact, she mentioned Elena was on here, but there was a group of us who all kind of write Clean and Wholesome, and we talk pretty often online, and we all went down for this big dessert table. Do you remember? And we all ordered these big desserts, and there was one that was piled up, and it was the Four Seasons Hotel in Houston. And what was it? You broke the top, and then all the chocolate came down over all of the little. Oh my God, it was wonderful. Anyway, we discovered that authors also like to eat dessert. So anyway, thank you for being here with us. All right, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
But right after this, we're going to go on and look at all your comments. I know that Jess answered some of them live here tonight, but we'll make sure that we get all your questions answered, and then make sure you comment, because that's how you get entered in to win that book. All right.
Yay.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
See you soon.